Vijay, as someone who has commentated on, I think, the entire Roger Federer, career, how do you feel? How did you feel when you first, saw and heard his message? He put out an audio message announcing his retirement as well. We knew that this was coming, but did it still hit you?
Well, like every other tennis fan, you always say, "Oh, can you give us one more? Can you give us one more?" But at 41, you're truly pushing the envelope, and I think between the recovery from injuries that goes along with the practice that you need to put in and the work that you need to put in, I think the desire was still there, but he made the smartest move to do what he's done, and really honestly retire after Labour Cup. It's something that he needed to do, and he needed to do it on his terms.
Yeah. We always thought that with this generation pushing each other, maybe they would extend each other's careers as well. And do you think that was a factor indeed? I mean, if there were no challengers to Roger Federer when he was at his peak, first with Rafa Nadal and with Novak Djokovic, I'm asking you this question because a lot of people who've interacted with Federer have told me that he loves the competition and he truly relished being pushed and challenged. Do you think that actually did extend his career? Because if it was just Roger Federer all of these years, he could have achieved a much higher Grand Slam count and would have retired much earlier. The reason why he continued to play for this long was because he was being challenged and he had that drive.
Uh, yes, but let's not forget he's a good 5 years older than the other guys, and especially Nadal, Djokovic, Murray. And so Nadal got to be good enough because he won the French championships at a very young age. And so he started to push Federer from that moment on. And the question was, is he going to be good enough to win on grass? And the big question was Federer going to be able to win on clay? And so that became the big kind of rivalry between those two guys, even though Rafa was a good 5 years younger than Federer. So, and when the courts at Wimbledon changed, I was quite emphatic in saying that Nadal would win Wimbledon before Federer wins the French, which is eventually what happened. And Federer ended up squeezing out the one championship in France after Soderling had ended up beating Nadal, I guess. So I think when we look back at the careers, yes, when Federer saw Nadal coming along like a wave, like I call him the Spanish Armada, the one-man Spanish Armada, that came along, that Federer knew that he had to continue to get better and better and better and compete at a higher level, which is exactly what he did.
What did you make of the message that Federer put out? He did, of course, acknowledge his challengers, his competitors in making him better over the years, but just overall the message that he put out. And he talked about his special talent. It seems like he's very aware of the fact of how gifted he was and the joy that he brought to so many people around the world.
The reason we are emotionally attached to the way Roger rather, is the fact that we watch him play and we think of ballet, we think of grace, we think of elegance, we think of beauty. And as I've always said, he played a modern form of yesterday's tennis. Mm-hmm. And the skill came out when he played. It was not slap, boom, bang all the way through, but he put his foot down on the pedal when he needed to. And so that's what kind of got us all attached to the way he played, even when he lost. There was beauty in the way he struck the ball. Now, he put out 50% effort and got 150% return. Nadal put out 110% effort to get 100% return. Yeah. So I think all of those things mattered a lot to the viewer.
What do you think? How would you summarize his contribution to tennis?
I think, honestly, more people would follow tennis because of the way he played and the way he played it. Yeah. Needless to say, he won more than pretty much anyone. As we start looking at numbers, we can get to that in a minute. But at the end of the day, I think he raised the viewership of tennis to a particular height as well, simply because of the way he is, the way he conducted himself, the way he played the game, his press conferences afterwards, his associations, his brands that he's been involved with, and all of these things, I think, made a huge difference to raise not just his profile, but raise the profile of tennis as well to the viewer.
Vijay, do you feel somewhere at the back of Roger Federer's mind, he would have wanted to get back to the pinnacle with the most Grand Slams. He was stuck at 20 for a while, although he was also ahead of the others for quite some time till Rafa and Novak Djokovic caught up. But as a competitor, do you think he would have been satisfied with his 20, or he would have liked to get another couple under his belt?
I think in his heart of hearts, he knew with him at 20, and I think the most distant he got was Nadal at 17, if I remember correctly. So he was three away from Rafa. Knowing Rafa's fitness, he knew that Rafa had a good chance at the French and to be able to catch him. Djokovic seemed a little bit more perhaps behind at 15 or 16, which is 5 or 6 away from Roger was. And it's hard to imagine we're talking about majors here and not just tour titles. So,
Yes.
so if every time Roger was able to win one, it would have made a huge difference, no question. But let's not forget about this incredible fact that we're talking about three guys winning 63 titles between them. And majors, I mean. And it's hard to imagine, someone even winning one. I was talking to Stan about it. I was talking to Stefan about it. I was talking to a lot of the guys at Wimbledon about it, and we all talk about, oh, he's a major winner. He's a Grand Slam winner. He's a Wimbledon winner. But to think that these guys have won 63 between them is unimaginable. Putting that aside, I think the fact remains that Nadal could catch Federer, Djokovic could catch Nadal, and pass Federer in numbers, basically. But I don't think Federer has lost the Federer fan because of that. As far as they're concerned, it is still Roger Federer as the greatest of all time.
And tell me, if you were to make an argument of why Roger Federer at 20, a one and a two Grand Slams below the other two, is still the greatest of all time, what would you say to make that argument?
it's a it's a really good question. I just raise it with people, friends of mine. We have these discussions all the time. And Federer is the greatest of all time. And just to needle them a little bit, I would say, well, he's got 20, and Nadal has 22, and of course they get into this whole big debate. So I firmly believe that it's a very emotional connect that Roger is able to make with these people, and that makes a huge difference to what they continue to believe and what they continue to think, and because it is the way he played and the way he conducted himself. And to me, honestly, that doesn't take anything away from Rafa and Djokovic. I love them both dearly. I think Rafa is a terrific guy. Djokovic is a terrific guy. There is nothing to dislike about either one of them. And I'm huge fans of both of them. And all three of them bring a different style of play to the game, which is what made their competitive edge to each other, so fun to watch. It was not the same guy playing each other, playing himself. So I think that made a huge big difference. And we call this man Spider-Man. We call that guy who's just chasing down everything from and the kitchen sink way behind the baseline and all of this stuff. So we can talk about this forever. But at the end of the day, it's honestly that emotional connect to each one of them, for that matter, that makes them either a Djokovic fan, Rafa fan, or obviously a Federer fan.
Well, I think you know I'm a Rafa fan and Rafa forever. And I remember you and I were very luckily for me at that Wimbledon final in 2008 when, as you said, Rafa won on grass before Federer won on clay. So, I mean, he's now at 22. So let me ask you a converse question. How many Grand Slams does Rafa or Novak Djokovic have to win to eventually settle the GOATs debate and win that argument even with Federer fans?
Yeah, yeah, good one. Yeah, I mean, you can't really win more than what these guys have won. I mean, obviously, every time, if Rafa Nadal came to the French Championships in a wheelchair, I think he'll still be one of the top favorites to win it. So I think that's how good he has been on clay. Let's not get away from that. Djokovic, every time he plays a Grand Slam, has a good chance to win it. And I think that just shows the kind of desire, work ethic, fitness that Djokovic has brought to the game. So can they win a couple more? Absolutely. I think Djokovic can, in fact, win 2, 3 more. He's got to get out of this situation that he's got himself caught in. But once he gets out of it, and perhaps playing the Australian maybe, and then, excuse me, playing the French and Wimbledon. I think all of these things, he has to be a front runner. There are the Medvedevs and the Zverevs and the Tsitsipas's, and obviously now the Alcarazes and Rudes and all of them coming along on a tight push. But I think Djokovic has got it in his mind that he is going to pass Nadal, and I hope Nadal stays through for another good 12 months. And I would love to see him at the French again. I think that's where he's likely to make his mark and pull ahead. But again, it comes down to his knees and his fitness. I think at the moment he's still playing good enough tennis to win it.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, Vijay, what is your favorite moment of Federer's career, and any personal, anecdote with him that you would like to share?
I think that all those Wimbledon finals he played, where I was privileged to talk about on air, was very special because when you see those kinds of rivalries, Federer Nadal twice, and one he won, one he lost, the Federer Roddick, which was an incredible match. I think you look back at those matches, and there was no roof, the lights were not there. There was fading light in the and the crowd getting very boisterous as to whether this match was going to end or was it going to be postponed to the next day. All of these things, played a big role in that emotional moment of being able to talk about it. And as commentators and presenters that we end up getting caught up so heavily in the moment. And it is really a privilege to have seen these guys play each other at the highest level. So for me, those matches meant a lot. I always talked about Pete and Andre before that at the Australian semi-final one year. They were just a remarkable match that I did as well. So I think I was able to do some great matches through the 90s, 2000s, and later than that as well. And I think that was a real privilege for me to have seen Federer come through when he beat Sampras at that Wimbledon fourth round, and then all the way through his incredible career, and done private moments with him. Obviously, we brand ambassadors for Rolex together, and all of that kind of added that personal touch to my relationship with Federer and his family. And it was always special to see the Federer at dinner at these events, and then to see Federer put his foot down on someone when he's up 4-1. It was really unique.
Yes. So is he the GOAT? I think a lot of my viewers would want to know, is he the GOAT for you?
um, to watch, yes. I think we would both probably agree that the elegance with which he played the game, and I like to look back at my career and think that I played it. Excuse me, I played it the way I wanted to play it, and I was good enough to have been able to play with the best of my generation and have that kind of the grace and elegance with which I always thought the sport should be played, taking absolutely nothing away with the way people absolutely grinded other people into the ground, which Rafa has done on so many occasions. And the work I think that goes into it is unimaginable. So is he the GOAT? I think it is honestly, as I've often said before, one, we can't compare generations. Two, if you compare these three guys, there was a moment of about 4 or 5 years where Roger was so far ahead of everyone else, and it was a matter of trying to catch up with him. And so you have to also give credit to Djokovic and Nadal especially up front, who actually started to win the French at a young age, then catch up with Federer, and then get Djokovic also to come along. You have to put those three guys in one little box, close it, lock it, throw away the key, because there's no one else who's going to get into that box. It is 63 majors between the three of them. Is truly unimaginable. But I tell you, I will share my one last early memory with him, which was very special, because I was doing the Shanghai Masters many years ago for television, and Roger had made it, I think, for the first time. And I was coming down in the lift with the lady, and she started talking to me, and she knew who I was. I was there for TV. And she said, as we got out in the lift, she said, I followed a career, blah, blah, blah. I really enjoyed it, so on and so forth. It was Roger's mother. And she said, I'd like you to meet my son. And so that's when I first met the young Roger Federer, who had made the World Championships in Shanghai. And she looked at him and she said, "No, this is Vijay. I'm sure you know." Anyway, Roger said, "Yes, I followed your career," and so on. And then she turned around to him and said, "Well, this is the way someone should behave on a tennis court," to him. And he said, "My mother had always said that about you." And that was a moment I never forgotten. And I ended up spending time with his mother and father after that on many, many occasions. And I always thought that was a special moment because I think Roger, we admire him because not just of the way he played his game, but the way he has been off court and the way he has been with press and fans and sponsors and stuff like that. It's always been that special relationship, I think, that we have that GOAT feeling about Roger, not just his tennis.
Wow, what a wonderful story to share, Vijay. Thank you so much. And you were talking about how the three have to be put in one box together. And, you know, when I asked you that question earlier, it was coming from this because I think all three of them have lent to each other's career. They have made each other great in the process while, you know, their own careers great. And I think if Roger Federer, with a supreme talent, had not had somebody to push him, it could have been a much, sorry to say, boring story than what it eventually turned out to be. I mean, eventually turned out to be a glorious story. And I feel somewhere it helped elongate his career because he didn't just rule supreme for all of those years that he started out as, you know, and it became a rivalry twice over. And I think he also gained a lot from that competition even if he has been left behind in the number of Grand Slams. But I think it has added a lot more to his career than just being the one guy who's head and shoulders above everybody else. Would you say that?
Shivani, you're absolutely right. I mean, in any sport, uh, when someone is being pushed because of excellence, that's when you have to rise to the occasion. Constantly it happens, whether it's in simple matches, whether it's in great matches, whether it's in great moments of great tournaments, all of these things you're pushed by someone else who is trying to be better than you over a period of time. And these guys came along at the right time, just when Roger was head and shoulder above everyone else. They came at the right time. Uh, Pete and Andre had that great rivalry. Stefan and Boris had that great rivalry. Uh, Smith and Ash had that great rivalry. Connors McEnroe, Borg had the great rivalry. So you're talking about all of these guys who played different generations that pushed each other to the limit. Yeah, and they hated losing to each other as well. You may have that smile on your face, but at the end of the day, you know, you really don't want to lose to this guy for the 14th time or the 18th time or whatever it is, or beat him for the 26th time, which is what you want to do. So I think each of them pushed each other to such a limit that they started to take the game higher and higher and higher, even to a point of where it hurt them physically. And then they were able to come back after an injury break and still come back to push that same guy. So that's what made the rivalry so special with these three guys.
Thank you so much, Vijay, for talking to us. It's always a pleasure, personally, for me to always speak to you. And we wish you good health and hope to talk to you soon again. Who knows, it may be Rafa Nadal soon, whose retirement we might be discussing.
For your sake, it'll probably be him. All the best, Shivani. Great chatting. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Take care.